Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, depends on where you're watching, when you're watching, maybe you're listening, not watching at all. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It has been awesome to see the engagement and the viewership and the subscribers and things continuing to go up on YouTube, where we host this podcast, or at least the video version. We've also seen a lot of you liking or following or favoriting on some of the podcast channels that we're on as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where else are we? iHeart Podcast. So there's a few different ones that we're on. It's all essentially syndicated out. So I just want to say thank you. This is something, it's more of a labor of love than it is anything. It obviously gives us great content that we can cut up into little shorts and reels and things like that. And so it's just enjoyable to put some of this out there. Again, the point and the reason behind this podcast is we are Speak Loud Group. Right there on my little rain jacket. It's a rainy Tuesday here in North Texas. And the reason we started this is because I enjoy teaching, coaching. I enjoy talking about our space, our industry, marketing, advertising, business in general, growth, scaling. It's enjoyable for me. I always attempt to not generalize or ideate a lot on this podcast. I try to do my best to deliver to you things that we have done, whether it be in our agency from a marketing advertising perspective, it be in Amplified Equity, our coaching consulting division or piece of our business. It's reality. It's something that we have tried, we have tested, we have rolled out. It's not ideas or suggestions. And if it is, I'm always do my best to be careful to let you know that, hey, we haven't personally tried this platform or this way of doing it, but we're researching it, we're trying it, we're testing it, we'll bring you some results. But in general, a general statement is, everything that I would bring to this podcast is things that we have implemented, tried, tested, seen it work across multiple accounts. Context on us, we are not a specialist agency in the sense of the word. We do not only work with, say, plumbers or only work with lawyers. We work with any business vertical that we feel we could bring value to. If we don't feel like we could deliver leads, traffic, brand awareness, then we essentially don't. We do not partner with that business. We do not take them on as a client. To me, and again, general statement, marketing and advertising is marketing and advertising. The product or the solution may change, so therefore the language or how it is presented may be changed. But in a general rule, marketing and advertising to us is all essentially the same. It's just, what are we talking about? What are we presenting? What is the solution that you and your business provide? And who do they provide it to? That becomes our targeting, our message. But enough of that. Let's move forward. Today I want to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. We are gearing up to do a panel for Small Business Week here in a couple of weeks here locally. And it's really awesome. If you are remotely close to the Wiley, Texas area here in North Texas, then I would encourage you to come and check it out. It is free. The first 50 people to register also get a free drink ticket. It is being hosted at Herman Marshall's Tasting Room in downtown Wiley. We will be upstairs, and it is on that Wednesday. The date escapes me at this exact moment. It's the 6th or 7th, I think. It's Wednesday, but it will be that evening. But you can find more info and all the details, including the exact date and time, over at socialmediarescue.net, which is our partnership with another local marketing and advertising agency that we do here locally. But you can go to that, click on the Q&A panel up at the top, and it'll take you there, and you can register. We'd love to see you there. And if you do come because you heard it on the podcast or on a shorter reel, please let me know. That would be really awesome. So, but let's move forward. We're gearing up for that AI panel, and the panel will be structured like a normal panel. We will be presenting a few things in the beginning, and then the majority of it will be open for questions. What roadblocks or challenges or misunderstandings or roadblocks, constraints are you having when it comes to AI? What do you know? What do you not know? What do you need to know? How could we be of help? And then we will field and answer as many of those questions as we knowledgeably can. And we are not afraid in some of those panels to be blatantly transparent and say, it's not a platform or a use that we have explored, but here are whatever suggestions we do have in regards to that. So I want to start this and keep this fairly top level. AI in general, I see most people playing with AI. I see a lot of people that are doing the fads or the trends, whatever that may be. Around the holidays, it was like this Christmas photo background thing. We did it too. We 100% did it too, because I don't think there's anything wrong with also still like playing with AI and having a good time with it. But I do not want that to be your end-all be-all, that you go in there and you take a prompt that you saw on social media, and then you plug that thing in, you make this funny photo or trendy thing, and that's it. You're not, instead of playing with AI, I want people to be utilizing AI. Stop playing with AI and start using AI. Because here, like stark reality and writing on the wall that most people know is AI is never going to be any worse than it is right now. Meaning the images that it creates, the graphics it makes, the thought process it goes through, the brainstorming it can do with you, the critical thinking it can do, perspective it can give you, it will never be as bad as it is right now. And shocker, it's already not bad. It's getting better literally every day. I've made a couple of videos on AI. I've taught on AI a little bit, and we were looking at a previous presentation we gave on AI a year ago, and it's just things have evolved so much. New platforms have surfaced, new use cases have been used, and it's almost like that entire presentation, I would say it's completely scrapped, but a good portion of it is not null and void, but just it needs to be updated. And that is going to be the case with AI going forward, I would assume forever. But I'd say at a minimum over the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to see these insane jumps and leaps month over month, year over year, of what it was doing and what it can do now, and the quality that it was putting out versus the quality it's putting out now. But I'm going to give you perspective into our business and how we are utilizing AI, how we are coaching and teaching other businesses to use AI. Number one, what has quickly become one of my favorite platforms is Claude. Claude, to me, it is very different than Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok. It's just very different. To me, number one, Claude sounds and feels and responds the most human. It feels as though I'm reading something that I could have written or someone else could have written. Compared to ChatGPT, Gemini, I feel like sometimes I read those things and it's clear, and I still see it to this day. I'll see social media posts from other people, and it's just, and a lot of you can do it too. You'll look at it and go, great AI copy that you have there. It's got 20 emojis, the way the structure is broken down, how the sentences are structured, the wording that is used. No one uses that word, especially if you know the person. You know that person doesn't use that word. It's just not natural. Even more so is I feel like Claude can be, I don't want to say argumentative, but more inquisitive. It can check and balance. I want my AI, the one I'm having conversation with or bouncing things off the wall, I want it to suggest things, but I don't want it just suggesting things based on my input, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be swayed by how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. I want it to give me its answer based on the research that it's doing. That to me is one of the most powerful things about AI, is the deep research that it can do and the perspective that it can give. Is you can also train that particular model to be more argumentative is probably the wrong word, but more inquisitive, more, but have you thought about this angle, or have you thought about how that could hold you back or cause another constraint. I want it to be conversational, not just answering based on what I've told it and what I think. Here's some of the ideas I have. I don't want it to go, those are great ideas and here's why. I want it to go, those are good. Have you thought about these three? That's ultimately what I want when I'm having those conversations, specifically about business planning, content creation, scripting, coaching and consult, like anything that I'm having a conversation with it about. I want it to be unbiased is probably a good word there. I do not want it to be swayed by my opinion or the input that I gave it. And I feel like Claude does a very good job doing that. That being said, I'm going to give you some use cases that I have used Claude for. So recently we were building an internal document as well as an external document that is going to be used for essentially it's an onboard use case that we're going to be onboarding a client for a specific thing. And I started typing the thing out. I got a couple of pages of context, kind of outline. It was more or less what I was typing out in this document. I was not building the document itself. I was building context. I was building structure. I was building a prompt to then turn around and give to one of these platforms. I provided that prompt or that document to Claude, and then I elaborated on how this document would be used, what all structure I would like for there to be, the flow that I would like to be in that document, things I did want to see, things I didn't want to see. Design essentially is like it's kind of the flow, but it's more or less the design. Like here's where I wanted things placed. And I asked it to create the document. I also told it to ask me any questions, I guess would be the best way. I wanted it to, if it needed more details. So if it was going to either create something generic or it was going to create exactly what I was looking for, but it needed more instruction or more details or more yes, no answers, I wanted it to ask those things. In this particular case, it did not. It did not ask me any further questions. It started building it, and it started building framework. I literally watched like code being written on screen inside of Claude, and then it generated the document. And after it generated the document, I have my Google Drive connected to Claude, and it gives you the option to either download the document. I want to say it was a doc file is what it would have been. So it would have opened in Word, or you could also open it in like a Google Doc. I chose, there's also a button there that has the Google Drive logo. And so I opted for that, as I do with all of them, because I keep them organized that way, whether it's something I like and I'm going to use immediately, or it's something I want to reiterate or use for ideation to build the next thing. So I saved it in Google Drive. When I opened it in Google Drive, it opens in Google Docs, and I will tell you that there were 100% things that I had to go and tweak, because I have a very specific use for this document. We have an internal version, which is about 18 pages long, and then we have an external document, which is similar in length. The external document is the one that we would be sending to our clients. The internal document is what we will be using to kind of take our notes and roadmap things. It did a phenomenal job. I couldn't put a number on it. There was a reasonable amount of edits and tweaks. I would say more formatting than anything. Like I wanted the logo in a certain placement. I wanted it to have like a table of contents, which I did not tell the model. I just told it to create the document, so it did. If I'd have told it I wanted a table of contents, it would probably have done a great job. But this is a use case scenario for Claude that if you need to build an SOP book, SOP manual, a org chart, a job description, excuse me, then this is, textbook use case for that. It does all start with the prompt and the information that I provided to it. If I would have gave it a very generalized, if I'd have just typed out a couple of sentences and kind of told it a rough idea of what the document would have been, I would have probably got a document that I was like, it's okay, and then I would have went back to building it myself. I will tell you that if I had to associate the amount of time that I would have spent building these two documents, 15 to 20 pages each, to think through it and to build out every single page and then go back through it to see what I missed, and then to format and kind of do more quote unquote design to it. I don't even know. 8 to 10 hours a piece is what I would ballpark that. This is a very important document, a very new but also emergingly successful piece of our business, that it needs to be right. There will always be new versions of it as we layer in different things, or we realize we missed something or we want to add it. But this first one is like what sets the precedent for us. So for you to build out, what are your constraints, number one? What roadblocks are you running to with your staff? Are they not following, proper procedure on, let's say, a job site if you're in like the home services business? Are you missing certain elements in the kind of recruiting and hiring stage to where you need like an interview document? I think you got to look at it first that way and determine what am I missing, and where are my constraints, where are my things I need to clean up, where do those issues exist, and that will point you in the direction of where do I need to go and what do I need to create for me moving forward. So I would start there. But again, if it's hiring, if it's recruiting, if it is onboarding new clients, if it is internal onboarding in the sense of you have a new client, but then the office staff needs to do certain things, this is a phenomenal document builder. I cannot stress it, and this is recent. This is not something we've used Claude for quite a few things, but this is most recent. This use case I'm explaining to you and giving to you, which is already in practice. We're already using these documents, and I can't stress enough the amount of time that this saved me. And let's reverse engineer that. Even if it wasn't time, if it was one of our staff members building that, or if we outsourced it to someone, it would have been time for my staff, which equates to money for me. If it's outsourcing, it just equates to money and some level of time, because if all of you know how it is to outsource certain things, it comes back, it's not exactly what you're thinking. I look at outsourcing the same way as I look at communicating with my AI. If I give it a lot of good context in the beginning and a rough draft, even if it's like a drawing on a napkin, usually my product coming back to me from either an outsource, like say a contractor or designer, it's reasonably good. Same thing with AI. It's the same process to me. So that time that I spend going back, but the difference is like working with a designer or outsourcing someone, either I've got to hop on a Zoom call, phone call, got to type out an email, whereas with Claude, I can just push to talk or type and tell it to go, and I don't have to wait for a response. I don't have to wait for that email to come back, and then I got to respond to that email, or I've got to schedule the Zoom call, wait for them to accept the Zoom call. I cut out all of that noise and time that it saves. So that is one use case, is documents. Building documents, again, identify where your roadblocks are, where your constraints are, where do you need to clean up a particular process. Does your team need to understand the process? Like where are you lacking and what do you need to build? And I would make a list of those things in priority order and then start working on those things with Claude. Another use for Claude is I feel Claude is fantastic at business planning. We have used Claude internally for our business, where we have given it this new kind of thing that we are exploring inside of our business. We had this lengthy, and still have the chat to this day, of essentially like throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's like we had the concept or the idea of how we wanted to do and how we wanted to structure it, but we needed that feedback or perspective of how to look at it from different angles, and it did. It identified some of what could have been additional constraints, additional roadblocks, additional time that would be consumed, and we were able to be in front of those things. So if, again, it all goes back to like, what information did I give it to begin with? How detailed was I? I love all of the platforms, for the most part, have it, but I love the push to talk feature, because I can just talk, and even your iPhone or your Android has it natively. You hit that little microphone and it kind of dictates kind of what you were saying. And I like that, because then I can add context. Like I can give it all this information. I can tell it to go check out this website. I can tell it to blah, blah, blah. And then once I untap that microphone, it types all that out, and then I can attach the document or type in the website, because you all know that giving voice website sometimes does not translate very well. It types it out weird. I would highly suggest, if you are working on kind of growing your business, leveling up your business, what are you trying to, I do not think it is a end all be all business consultant, but I think that it can answer some questions for you. I think that it can get your, as I've said before with AI in general, is it can get those, like that hamster wheel moving. It gets your thought process rolling. It gives you perspective of how to think about it differently. And I would use it that way. Claude has become one of my absolute favorite. I guess this entire podcast is really going to be about Claude, because I'm looking up and I'm seeing we're at 20 minutes already, and we try to keep these things digestible and fairly short. But I just feel like Claude is untapped potential that's not even going into like Claude coding and how you can build out code for your website. There's so much there that I could dive into and that I will leave alone, because that could be a whole nother episode by itself of how to build things inside of some of these platforms. I will briefly touch on Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a Google extension, Google product, and it is something that if you have not heard of, you need to go explore. Drop it into Google, Notebook LM. You can log in if you're already logged in through Google using your normal Google login, and you have all these different workspaces. One of the coolest features in there, and I can see people going down a rabbit hole with it, is you can enter a specific topic. You could give it a YouTube video link. You can give it context, and it can draft a literal like video podcast on this topic. And it's pretty good. What it also allows, and you're gonna be like, what is the purpose of this? And I'm gonna get there, but you can also call in to this podcast as yourself, as like a guest, and you can ask it more questions, and then the hosts are going to sit there and answer those questions. It's almost like your AI talking back to you like it normally does, but it's like a video version of that conversation happening back and forth, and they've made it very real. I have already seen businesses and influencers using this feature as a podcast. I heard the other day, and it kind of blew my mind, is like Arnold Schwarzenegger had this podcast that was out, and he's never actually recorded a podcast. It is all AI. And I did not know that, because I've actually listened to that podcast before, and it was kind of mind-blowing. But Notebook LM, another step further, is like you can scrap the podcast thing, but you can give it same thing, same topic, link. It could be something that you're trying to learn about, whether it is a piece of software that you're considering bringing into your agency or into your business. I apologize. It could be a gap, something that you feel is like a missing connection. Maybe it's from the onboarding to your internal team and how they're getting that information. How do we make that better? You can put that information in a Notebook LM, and it will generate this like play-by-play workbook. It can generate Notebook LM is good for a lot of things, but I feel like it is paramount and excels at like teaching. It is a great learning tool. So you could use it for your staff, for your employees. You're trying to train somebody on sales and your process and your product. You could enter all that information there of like your value adds and your benefits and like your all these things about like your sales side of like why people should use you and why you have a great reputation. You could feed all that information in there, and it would generate this like sales training deck of like slides that you could then sit there and go through and elaborate on in an actual training environment. But Notebook LM is another one that I would suggest that you should be looking at. There are 4 or 5 different project template things that you can do. So I mentioned the podcast, I mentioned like the slides that it can generate. There's like 3 others that it can generate. One of them is, think of like a mind map of where you have, or a flow chart, mind map, however you want to look at it, is you start with a problem, and then it starts building out these different branches and legs. All of you have probably seen a roadmap before that is done that way, where it starts here and then it branches down to this, and then there's 2 branches off of that, 3 branches off of that, and it's literally a mind map of how to solve your problem, how to fix your thing, it could be an org chart, it could be anything. But that is another one inside of Notebook LM that is just cool. I don't have a better word for it. I think it's just freaking cool. And I think that you should check it out. It's just, for lack of better explanation there, is I think it's just an incredible piece of equipment, a tool that can be used to continue to grow your business and to level up yourself and to level up your team. So those are the two things. If you are not using those two things, then I would go explore those things. And we're going to be talking a lot about AI just over the next podcast here and there. We may mix it up from time to time. It may not all be about AI, but it's just so important for us to talk about this. Now, I said for the longest time, and a lot of people have said, AI is not coming for your job. AI is not going to replace you. Here's how that has changed in my mind is I do not believe that AI is coming for your job, but I believe that someone that does understand and know AI will pass you. And I've said that recently too, is that I believe if there's an organization, a company, a competitor that starts to utilize AI in this way, they can pass you. I don't think they're correctly coming for your job, but I think that they are coming with more efficiency. They're coming with more time on their hands. They are just utilizing what is available to them to their advantage. So I would recommend, here's my recommendation, this is my final thought, is you should be, Claude has a free version that has expansive capabilities in the free version. Notebook LM as well, is that you should be exploring those. So instead of Thursday night, Friday night, whatever, I believe in time to unplug, spend time with your wife, spend time with your kids, spend time with your husband, family members, birthday parties, things like that. Do all of those things, but also utilize some of that time to break out your laptop and explore some of these things. Explore some of these things, give it a test, give it one of your current documents and ask it how it can make that thing better and how it can make it more understandable and readable and executable, and see what it comes back with. And I promise you that if you are as excited about AI as I am, and some of you aren't, some of you are not excited about AI at all. You are not excited to see what it's already doing. You don't want to see what it's going to do next. And I don't want to say that's fine because it's not fine. I feel like everyone needs to be adaptable. The businesses that seem to win the most and win the biggest are just that. They are adaptable. They utilize the tools that are made available to them. So I would encourage you, go check out Claude for document creation, for business planning, for sounding boards at a high level, and go check out Notebook LM, Google's product for those various things I just said, for learning and for teaching. I think they're incredible, and I think they could be highly useful for you. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you go do these things, because at the end of the day, I could sit here and talk about these things all day long, and you could hear about them, and unless you go and actually do them and execute them, the same things we tell our clients that we're teaching and coaching, like we can tell you all these things and show you the path and give you the best practices and all of the fun stuff, but if you are not going and doing the work, then it's all for nothing. So I hope that you utilize this. We will see you guys on the next one.